Welcome everyone, and thank you for joining us for today's webinar, Next Gen FlexFund, Boost Average Revenue Per Inspection and Get Paid Your Way. My name is Ryan Ward, and I'm just going to kick us off with a few housekeeping items before we get started this evening. A quick reminder that this webinar is being recorded, and we will be sending the recording out to all of you by the end of the week, so keep an eye out for that in your email inbox. I'd like to also remind everyone that we'll have a live Q&A following the main presentation today. So if you have questions about FlexFund, please drop them into the chat at any time. I'm going to monitor those, and if we can't reply with an answer directly in the chat, we'll throw your question to Ben at the end of the presentation during Q&A. Speaking of Ben, our webinar today will be led by Ben Tolman, co-founder of Guardian Inspection Payments. Ben's going to walk you through the latest product updates and customizations added to FlexFund, as well as sharing some updated performance metrics to highlight just how much FlexFund can move the needle for home inspectors. He's also going to deep dive into our latest customization feature, what we're calling the Pass the Fee feature that allows you to charge clients all or a portion of the FlexFund fee. And I think that is enough out of me, so Ben, why don't you take it away?
Sounds good. Appreciate it, Ryan. So I know that some of you may have already been exposed to FlexFund. You might have sat through a webinar previously, and you're here to find out some of those updates and whatnot. But just for those of you who this is your first time really looking into FlexFund, I just want to go over some of the basics around that. And so, what is FlexFund? FlexFund is going to help you book more inspections. It's going to make you more money on the inspections that you book. I like to think of FlexFund more as a marketing tool rather than as a product per se, because it just does a really good job at helping you make more money on the inspections that you've got. And it does all of this while eliminating the pain points that your customers have. And so it allows them to get the inspection that they need and in reality deserve. Most people would say that, FlexFund is an inspection payment solution that's designed specifically for you, the home inspector. It allows your clients, the home buyer, to defer their payment for the inspection until closing. So, but while doing all of that, still allowing you to get paid up front. So most people would refer to it as a buy now, pay later option. Everywhere we go today, we're being presented with a buy now, pay later option. It doesn't matter whether you're online at Amazon or whether you're literally checking out at Best Buy. At the counter, that clerk is asking you if you would like to take advantage of a buy now, pay later type of an option. And the reason that they do that is because the statistics are showing absolutely that people will spend more money when they're presented with a buy now, pay later option. We've got the statistics to show it, but obviously, Walmart, Amazon, all the big boys, everybody is offering a buy now, pay later option. And that's why. So why did we create FlexFund? Fact of the matter is that paying for your transaction at closing has been around for years. So some home inspectors might say, if it ain't broke, why fix it? Well, fact is that in reality, it was broke. We had inspectors coming to us all the time saying, hey, I'm looking for a way to allow my clients to pay me at closing because the agents are coming to me asking for their customers to be able to pay at closing. I'm looking for a way to track this, make it integrated so that my process flows stay intact so that I don't lose track of this transaction, so that I have a way to make sure that I'm going to get paid for the transaction. I don't really like having to wait 60 to 90 days to receive payment. With all at the same time, wondering at any point, is this transaction going to, not make it to closing? So that's what FlexFund does. That's why we created it, is because we had inspectors for years and years coming to us saying, please help me with this process. You're the payments guys. How can you help me take away all the pain points, help me get paid up front, and make sure that I stay paid? And so that's why we created FlexFund. The and again, we have an entire success team that makes sure that all of these things happen. We're gonna set up your FlexFund for you in the process to make sure that the way that you want to accept FlexFunds is it's designed specifically to meet your needs. So as the product has evolved, we've added more and more features to it. One of which is allowing you to set up minimums and maximums on transaction limits. We're telling you that FlexFund will make you more money on every transaction, and how that does that is by allowing the customers to add additional ancillary services to their product. So when everybody's had a price shopper call them on the phone and say, how much is your home inspection? That's the first thing out of their mouth. And instead of giving somebody a price, what this allows you to do is say, hey, don't worry about the cost of the inspection. We don't charge you anything up front. You're able to pay for your transaction at closing. And let me tell you about all of these different products and services that I offer. I offer mold and radon and sewer scopes. And here's why you need to take advantage of all of these products and services so that you get the best inspection. And then after you've been able to tell them about all of those products and services that you offer, because now again, they're listening, because instead of you giving them a price and everything after that being sticker shock, and all they're hearing are dollar signs, they're actually listening to the things that you have to say. So then when you get to the end of your spiel and you tell them, and when you package all of those things together, your total today is going to be $1,200. They're actually willing to accept that $1,200 price point because you told them about all of the features and you told them they don't have to pay you anything today. The guys who are really good at selling using FlexFund will throw things out there like, you might want to talk to your agent about trying to get some seller concessions because we're going to put this on your closing disclosure, and so maybe you can get the seller to actually pick up some of your transactions. So, a lot of people at this point are thinking, well, so what are the downfalls on this? How is it going to make me more money if I don't offer any ancillaries? Well, FlexFund itself can become an ancillary service for you, and I'm going to tell you more about that later. But you might say, I'm already a superstar when it comes to adding ancillary services. Well, I have yet to meet an inspector who, even when he tells me, like, look, I have a super high close rate on adding additional ancillaries to my transactions, but no one has said I add an ancillary on 100% of my transactions. So no matter what, FlexFund helps you increase that number. That's what we've seen across the boards. Allowing you to create packages and work to allow FlexFund to work for you. So again, we've set all of these different features to FlexFund now, allowing minimum and maximums. So saying we've told you that it's supposed to increase the average ticket. So let's say today your average ticket is $500. So you're saying, well, I don't want to offer FlexFund as a option to my customers until my transaction does make more money. It gets to $750. So you can go into your settings and you can set that minimum that says until my transaction limit gets to $750, FlexFund doesn't even show up as an option to my customers. And so then somebody would say to me, well, yeah, but I just told them all about it. So when they get to the checkout and it's not there, what happens? Well, in my opinion, that's a great thing. When your customer hears all about FlexFund and it's something that they want, maybe they didn't take advantage of ancillary services, or maybe they only took advantage of one ancillary service, and so their transaction got to $650. And then they call you and say, hey, I'm trying to check out, but I don't see this FlexFund product that you told me about as an option. Well, you just got a second chance at selling that customer. So you're able to say, oh, well, we actually don't offer the ability for you to pay to close until your transaction is a certain size, or until you've added 2 ancillary services. And then at that point, we give you this opportunity for you to pay for your transaction at closing. So you just got a second chance at selling this person. So again, super cool features that have been added to the product. And then now, as of just 2 months ago now, we gave you the opportunity to charge your clients for FlexFund. So in the beginning, we came out and we said, hey, the best method for this product is for you to give it away for free, right? And that's still, today, that's still what we're going to tell you, is that offering FlexFund for free is the best way for you to increase your ancillary services, right? So when you tell somebody, hey, you don't have to pay for your transaction today, but to push it off till later, it's going to cost you extra money, right? It's going to charge you $50. I'm going to charge you $100 for the ability to pay later. That's going to take away some of your ability to upsell, right? So because now you've bit into that additional amount of money that they're going to spend on all of your ancillary services. But again, maybe that is the ancillary service. Maybe you're literally only adding that ability to pay for closing on the transaction, and that's what you're hoping for. And so your cost from us is $50 for that transaction. You're going to charge $100 for that ability. You just made an extra $50 on those transactions that went to closing. Maybe that's your only ancillary service that you offer, is you're just giving that customer the ability to pay for their transaction at closing. So it's a super easy process for you to turn this feature on, just like all of the different features within the product. You're able to say, yes, this is how I want to take advantage of FlexFund, is I want to pass that fee on to my customer. It's an easy just to toggle, accept terms and conditions, and then enter the dollar amount that you want to charge the customer. So your cost from us is $50. You can just pass that fee along. You could offset some of the fee, and I'll tell you a little bit more about why a lot of inspectors take that option. Or you can also make some money on top of every inspection. When we came to market with this product, we surveyed the industry and we said, who's doing this? If you're doing it, how much are you charging for it? And we had everything from giving it away for free up to $150 that inspectors were charging for them to manage this process. And again, inspectors didn't want to do this. It was the agents coming to them saying, hey, I want you to allow my customer to pay for their transaction at closing. Because the agent doesn't want their customer putting anything on a credit card. They want them to have as much cash on hand as possible. They want that transaction to go to closing. This is something that agents absolutely want. And so it was being pushed onto the home inspector by the agent. And so inspectors begrudgingly would say, sure, I'll do this, but I'm going to charge $150 for it. And so we came to market at $75. We didn't know exactly what our breakage was going to be. We didn't know how many transactions we were going to have to walk away from because the client doesn't end up paying us. And so we came in the middle at $75. After being in the market for about a year, we were able to run tens of thousands of transactions and see exactly where our breakage was. And we see this as being an industry-changing product. And so rather than making more revenue than we needed, we lowered the price and dropped it down to $50 to make sure that this product can be a product that everybody wants to get on board with. And why is that? Well, the reason that we want that to be the case is because when you look at this industry and you compare a home inspector to an appraiser in most markets, especially the markets where they're getting paid at closing, the appraiser is getting paid 2 to 3 times as much as the home inspector is. The home inspector has more liability, more tools and products that they've got to that they need, more time invested in the transaction, and yet the appraiser is getting paid 2 to 3 times as much as the home inspector. And in fact, in areas where the appraiser gets paid the same way as a home inspector, where he gets paid upon service, that appraiser is getting paid almost the same amount of money as the home inspector. So why is that? Well, it's because there's no conversation around how much the appraiser is going to cost. And it's just going to show up on your closing disclosure. Your agent saying to you, you got to get an appraisal. Your mortgage company is saying, we have to have an appraisal as a part of this process. And so the agent says, yep, I can tell you exactly where we need to go to get this taken care of. The bank sets it up. It's all just taken care of. No conversation around what that's going to cost. And in Idaho, where I'm at, when you get your closing disclosure, it actually says right on the closing disclosure, this is a product and service that you can shop for, but nobody does. And so the more transactions that we get going to closing, the more that a home inspector is going to get paid what he should be getting paid, because the conversation around cost is just going to go away. The agent's going to have the ability to say, hey, you need to get a home inspection. Don't worry about it. It just shows up on your closing disclosure. And so now that customer, he's not doing the shopping. He's just taking that agent's recommendation, calling, getting it set up, or the agent setting it up for you. And now you're able to do more marketing around making sure that agent is recommending all of the different products and services that you offer. And especially because cost just becomes a non-issue for you. And so that's why we really think that this product is an industry changer. I can tell you that I've been working with home inspectors for more than 25 years. And 25 years ago, in credit card processing, I see hundreds of thousands of transactions going through our system. I can tell you that the average size of a ticket that was going through credit card processing 25 years ago was $410. Today, that average ticket is $480 if we go nationwide across the board. So in that amount of time, if we just followed inflation, that transaction should be closer to $780. And that's what a home inspector should be getting paid. And the more that we can get transactions to show up on the closing disclosure, the closer we're going to get to that happening. So it's a super simple product to get set up in your ISN. In your settings area, there's a FlexFund settings section. It's as easy as checking the box, enabling FlexFund as an option, making the decision as to whether or not you're going to charge your customer. If you're going to charge your customer, deciding how much that's going to be, and entering all of those settings into the system. Super simple process to follow, and it just becomes a line item on their invoice when you choose to charge the customer for the transaction. And this feature of allowing you to charge your customer for FlexFund has been the number one feature that's been asked for by home inspectors. And there's lots of reasons as to why that is. We for sure have a lot of home inspectors who are offering it for free. They raised their price a little bit. We actually have a tool built into the system so that if you want to allow FlexFund to be charged, given away for free, you can set it so that it will increase the price of all of your inspections just a little bit to cover the cost of the inspection or the FlexFund transaction. Again, we have all those features set up within ISN, but this has become the number one feature that customers, inspectors have asked for, because like anything, it's got a $50 price point, and so the inspector says, hey, I don't want to have to cover that. I want my customers to cover that price. But because ISN is such a hefty tool, and there's so many things around price and services and product types and all of that, it took us a while to be able to integrate this into the features so that when you charge your customer, it becomes a line item. It becomes a tool that can be used with other features within ISN. ISN, one of the really cool features that ISN just built out in their online scheduler is the upgrade feature. And so now FlexFund works super well with the upgrade feature, because you can go in and set all of your settings up so that it's prompting the customer to add additional ancillary services. And you can even say in that system, you can say the more ancillary services that you offer, at some point FlexFund does become free. It provides an additional discount as you add ancillary services. And so when you're presenting this to your customers or to the agents and you're saying, hey, add mold or add radon, add a sewer scope to your transaction, you control all the messaging there in that upgrade feature. So you're able to say, when you add sewer scope, we also allow FlexFund, for free, or FlexFund for a discounted price, or whatever it is. But that upgrade feature has just been a game changer for so many inspection companies, increasing their average ticket size, and with FlexFund as a part of that whole process. So the checkout page, this is what it looks like when you add FlexFund as an option to your customers. So if you're accepting credit cards and ACH and FlexFund, it just comes up as those three options are presented to the customer. If the customer chooses FlexFund, they click on the bubble. It's going to say, we now need to get some information from you. We need to get your closing information. And so they get to choose. I have that information or I don't. If they have that information, they're able to enter it right in. It flows directly to us. Again, you're completely out of the process for all FlexFund transactions. You present it and then you're done. Everything, you stay paid. If the transaction ever doesn't close, you're not a part of gathering information. If the transaction doesn't go to close, you're not having to go be any part of collecting those funds. You're completely done with the transaction. And so same thing here. When that customer chooses FlexFund and they go in, they're asked for that information. If they have it, they provide it. If they don't have that information, then it's going to say, contact my agent. And so they click that button, and then again, our team reaches out to that agent to gather that information. Super seamless process. And if for any reason ever you have an agent who doesn't want to be a part of that process, you can opt an agent out of FlexFund. So any transaction that agent ever sends to you, FlexFund just will never be an option that's shown to their customers. And so, again, we've all had agents that they can't be bothered with anything. This could be one of those things. We have very, very few agents who've been opted out for any home inspectors, but we wanted, again, give you as much control over the product as we possibly could. So again, FlexFund is not a one size has to fit all type of a product. We've tried to design it in a way so that you can offer it for free to the client and absorb the cost as a marketing tool or just as a differentiator. Today, when you walk into an agent's office, and you're bringing lunch or you're bringing whatever, and you're wanting to give a presentation, instead of just a presentation about why their customers need mold or radon or sewer scopes or any of those additional things, you're able to come in and say, hey, Mr. Agent, I'm offering you a tool to help you close more customers. Agents love this. They love being able to say to their customers, when you do business with me, I work with a home inspector who doesn't charge you anything up front. They allow you to pay for your transaction at closing, which is a great thing for you, Mr. Home Buyer. The agent's presenting that to their home buyer in a way to try to get that home buyer to want to do business with them. And so it's just another tool in their tool belt that they're able to offer. They love to be able to offer that. So now you're going into those agent offices and you're telling them about this product and service that you offer. We actually market this for you. We have an entire site that is designed to drive business to you. We have agents actually calling our office and saying, hey, I need a home inspector in my area who offers FlexFund. We actually have customers now, home buyers, calling our office today saying, hey, I'm looking for an inspector in my area. We send them to this site where they can enter in their zip code, it pulls you up as an inspector in their area that offers FlexFund, and they're able to reach directly out to you and to do business with you. So not only is it driving more business to you because agents love it, but just through organic methods, we're getting transactions that are being able to be sent to you, which is super cool. But again, it's not a one size fit all. You want to offer it for free. You want to charge your clients. You want to charge. Actually, one of the really cool things that has come from this new feature is we had a lot of inspectors who turned it on to charge their customer, and they're ending up only charging about 20% of the customers because they use it as a, hey, here's a service that I offer, allow you to pay for this at closing. It costs $100. But if you upgrade to this package, or if you upgrade to, add on a couple of ancillary services, then I offer it for free. So even though they're using the charge the client methodology, they end up doing a lot of their transactions for free because they get those additional ancillary services added on. So you want to use it as a revenue tool. You want to use it as a differentiator. You want to use it as a tool to gain more agents. Whatever way you decide to offer FlexFund that works best for you is the way that we want you to be able to offer that transaction. So, excuse me, did I not? I think I might have missed a slide. But, or did I go back? So, FlexFund is totally making a huge difference for inspectors. So, some of the numbers that we want to share with you are the average increase that an inspector is seeing right now is 38% on their invoices, meaning that when somebody signs up with us for FlexFund, we go in and we take a snapshot of what their average ticket looks like today. And then what we're able to see is comparing that average ticket to now average tickets that are going through FlexFund. And then we continue to track those two numbers side by side. One of the really cool things that has happened since instituting this product is that base average actually increases, because what happens is you're using it as a tool to increase your ancillary services. You're telling people they don't have to pay you today. You're telling them all about these products and services that you offer. But then when the customer gets to checkout, for whatever reason, they decide to still just pay you with cash or check or a credit card, and they don't use FlexFund as that payment option. But they heard the spill. They heard all of the reasons why they need the sewer scope and the mold inspections and all of these ancillary services, so they still are adding more ancillary services. So you're in essence getting a free marketing tool just by offering FlexFund as a payment option to your customers. You're telling them, you're setting their minds at ease. So now they're listening to the things that you're telling them about these additional ancillary services. And then they don't actually use the product. You don't have any cost in it. Your average ticket increased. And so that number, I don't have that number because it's different for everybody. But across the boards, the transactions that do go through FlexFund are worth 38% more than the transactions that don't. That's on average $150 more for those inspectors, or almost $7,000 in additional annual revenue. So not only are we talking about giving your customers what they need, but we're putting money in your pocket. We're taking away credit card processing fees. So all of these things together equals additional revenue. Whoops, keep clicking on the wrong button. But what does that mean to you? Well, that means, what could you be doing with an extra, oops, I skipped a slide. What could you, well, it's not coming in like it's supposed to, I apologize. What could you be doing with that extra revenue? Well, a really cool thing here is we've only been doing the pass the fee on to your clients for a month and a half really now. But we've got some really cool statistics. So as you saw in the previous slide, the average is 38% additional revenue on transactions where they were giving it away for free. Today, we're seeing already an additional 22%. So we took the high and the low inspectors in that pool, and at least 22% increase. And for that inspector, that was $110 extra per transaction. That's not including the $50 that was charged to the customer for the FlexFund. So we minus the $50 cost of that transaction out of these numbers. So this is a pure additional $110 in revenue that the minimum on the guys who are charging the fee to their clients. Inspector B was at the top end, an additional 55% for that inspector. That was an additional $309 to that inspector for those inspections. And so, again, most all of these ancillary services that we're talking about, a sewer scope, an additional 20 minutes, a mold test, an additional 5 minutes. I mean, we're talking about ancillary services that, in some cases are doubling what an inspector is getting for their standard residential home inspection. So, how do you make more money in a market like we're in today, where less transactions are actually happening? You make more money on the transactions that you already have. And that's exactly what FlexFund is doing for customers. So again, this is an example of a franchise organization that we work with. So again, these numbers are coming from inspectors that are giving it away for free. So I can't emphasize enough to you that the inspection companies who are offering it for free are having fantastic results. So worst case scenario, you come on board with this product and you charge the customers for the use of FlexFund. It's never going to be a lose situation, right? You're always going to at least cover the cost of the FlexFund transaction, hope that you get additional ancillary services, and you should still, based off of the previous numbers, you're going to see an additional 22% to 55% increase in transactions, even if you're charging for it. But these guys, they're seeing an extra almost 44% on transactions that go through FlexFund versus the ones that don't. Millions of dollars of volume going through the process just for this one franchise organization. Thousands of transactions. They're absolutely behind this product. And why would a franchise not be behind this product? The franchise understands that they're going to make more royalties the bigger your transaction gets, right? That's their goal, is to have you having $1,500 home inspections because they make a royalty on the size of the transaction. They absolutely want you to be using a product that makes you more revenue on every transaction. That's why they're absolutely getting behind this product. It's because that's what it does. It makes you more revenue on every transaction that you do. So what are the benefits of using FlexFund? Well, you're going to get paid every time up front. So previously, when you were, if you were an inspector and you managed this process on your own, you had to wait 60 to 90 days for the transaction to close. And then you had to hope that it was going to close. With us, you're going to get paid up front every time. You don't have to worry about a clawback. Doesn't matter whether that transaction, the customer backs out of that transaction. Doesn't matter whether their funding doesn't come through. It just doesn't matter. You stay paid. You do the home inspection. We pay you up front. You stay paid. You're getting paid as fast as you would get paid if you were doing a credit card transaction. And all of this is completely backed by Guardian. We're the ones funding all of this. We're the ones that are taking care of your customer and your agents, and we're all about. We've been in this industry for 25 years. Our reputation in the industry means a lot to us. As a founder of this company, making sure that you and your customers and your agents are well taken care of, and that the Guardian name is a strong name in the industry, and that people trust that's very important to us. And so we work very hard to make sure that the process is as smooth as possible for you. As a part of that, you're able to adjust transactions on the fly. So if somebody needs to add or decrease their transaction, you show up and you just can't get into that sewer scope and you need to remove that from the invoice. As long as it happens before 7 p.m. on the day of the inspection, no problem whatsoever. You just make that change in your ISN. It all flows directly through ISN. If it's after 7 p.m. on day of inspection, we're already getting money sent out to you. And so only for that reason do we need you to email or call our office to make an adjustment to the invoice. But again, super easy process. We have a team dedicated to taking care of all of those things for you. So, you're eliminating your stress. You got way better cash flow. You get to focus on the thing that you do best, which is home inspections. And that's what we want you to do. And again, getting more agents, getting more bookings, we don't want you just to make more money on the inspections that you've got. We also want you to get more inspections. And, going to your agents and telling them that, again, in a market, think about when you are killing it today in this market, when things are a little bit tough. Once we come out of this market and those houses are flying off the shelf like they have in the past, or we're just back to a normal market, now you will have established all of these things in place, and just think of the revenue opportunities that are there. Think of the agents that you've now created relationships with, and you can test our tool. You can go in and you can see you can enter in your own zip codes and see what other inspectors are in your area offering FlexFund. And recognize that if you don't want to be second to market, you want to be offering these agents a tool that they're asking for before all of your competition does. So, inspectors are offering FlexFund. Again, they're seeing an average of a 38% increase. People are adding more ancillary services because of this product. Again, all of it's backed by Guardian, and which is a big deal, that that this is not a product that's fly by night. It's not going anywhere. This is something that you can get behind. You can absolutely take out to your agent offices, make sure that they're absolutely aware of it. It's going to be a product that's going to stick around. It's a product that we think is going to change the industry. The more that we push transactions to closing. So we're really pushing as hard as possible to help you with that process. And again, you can feel confident that it'll be a product that's going to be around. So again, FlexFund is totally flexible. We designed it in a way that you get to control how you present it, when it's presented, at what dollar amount it's presented, on what transactions it's presented. All of those things, we wanted to make it as flexible as possible for you. It's totally convenient for your client. They enter in a little bit of information, and even the client doesn't have to do a lot of work. We just allow the agent to give us that information. Super easy. We back up everything. It's fully integrated into your ISN. When the transaction, when the customer chooses FlexFund, it's going to tell your ISN that it's paid. It's going to release the report just like it normally would. All of those things are happening because of the full integration. And on top of that, we give you as much marketing material as you want. We've created videos that you can host on your website that tell all about what FlexFund is. We've got pitch decks for you to take to agent offices, flyers, additional marketing material, all customizable to your brand. We can adjust colors, we can adjust logos, we can do all of those kinds of things. We want to make you as successful as possible and help you get the word out about FlexFund. We have social media posts, all of the above. All you have to do is when you're going through the onboarding process, you just let your onboarder know that you're interested in getting that marketing material, and we get you put together with our in-house design and get all of that taken care of for you. So super easy, easy onboarding. We have, again, a team that is dedicated to helping you be successful with this transaction. So I appreciate everybody who's jumped on today and taking the time to learn a little bit more about FlexFund. Super excited about all the things that are in store. We're not done yet. We're working on additional product enhancements to FlexFund. We will be coming out with a phase inspections or pre-listing type of inspections to use for this product. So we're not done yet. Lots of great things in store, but at this point I would turn it back over to Ryan to open it up for some additional questions.
Yes, thank you, Ben. I know we had only slotted 45. Ben, I think you're probably okay to hang around to get through these questions. So if folks want to stay, we're happy to stay till we get all your questions answered. So I'm going to start throwing them at you, Ben, rapid fire, and you just take them one by one. So the first was from Joseph, and it's a few questions regarding the new Pass the Fee, but he's curious about the response so far and the percentage of inspectors using it, and if they've seen anything problematic with it so far on the client side.
Yeah, no, we have not heard any issues around anything being problematic per se. I mean, the day that we released, there were definitely a couple bugs that popped up. It's like I said, payments or transactions are so spread throughout ISN that there were some pieces where the fee was showing up twice on an invoice, kind of a thing. All of those, that's been worked out. So nothing problematic as far as that goes. Reception has been fantastic. So we had some inspectors who've been offering FlexFund for free who did move over to the client paid version, but every single one of those is still offering a version of free. Like I was saying before, their understanding of using the tool to upsell, they just really have figured it out. So now they're saying, sure, I'm going to offer this on 100% of my transactions. Meaning, if you want to do a $250 condo inspection and you want to pay for this at closing, sure, I'll let you. Before, I didn't want you to because it cost me $50 for that transaction. But today, I don't care. You want to do a $250 transaction at closing, I'm going to charge you $50 for that opportunity. And so those inspectors who moved over are doing that. They're saying, I'm offering it on every inspection type. You want to use it, go for it. But if you upgrade and you add on additional ancillary services or you upgrade to a larger package, then they're offering it for free. So those guys that have moved are really the ones that are doing a hybrid of both processes. And then after that, we've now done a couple webinars for specific franchises and whatnot, and just every time we do one, we just have an influx of new customers who are coming on board. The majority of them are coming on board with the pay for inspection methodology, and so we've had great results. And then the numbers, I wish I had more numbers to share with you, but like I showed those two examples of the top and the bottom, worst case scenario, a 22% increase in transaction type was the low. So at this point, I would say it's been just a really good offering.
Awesome. We had a question from Severn come in early in the session. However, I think you already addressed this with regards to pre-listings. We're working on that, right, as an option for types of inspections. Anything more to add on that?
No, I mean, we see the opportunity for that. There's just the product, everything that goes out is designed to speak to the customer, to the agent, to whatnot around that. This is something on the buyer side and just the way that the flow works. And so as soon as it becomes on the seller side, on a pre-listing, and obviously the time limits we need them to be longer. There's just a lot of those pieces that we need to adjust. We have to figure out how that pricing will work because, as you can imagine, when we start going from 60 days to 180 days possible for a pre-listing inspection, we need to make sure that our pricing is going to be right to take advantage of those types of things. So for sure is going to happen. Just can't give you the exact timeline yet.
All right, thank you. Another one from Nathan. Is there a way to include FlexFund for certain price points but still offer it as client paid for lower cost jobs that fall under the minimum?
Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking about through the upgrade feature, but you know, you will always have the ability to do manual, right? You can manually add FlexFund to transactions anytime you want. But as far as offering it for free, if it gets above a certain dollar amount, that's going to be more around your ISN settings for discounts and whatnot. So you could turn it on as a line item on your invoice, and then you would just need to create some kind of a dollar amount discount, or you know, if they added certain ancillaries or whatnot, that discount price came into play. So you know, you give us a call. We would love to work through something like that with you, kind of a thing. There's definitely there should be a way where we can accomplish what you're talking about, but I haven't really thought specifically about that piece.
All right, thank you, Ben. Question from Levi. If I mark FlexFund when building the Ordin ISN, when I take their card and submit payment, will that charge their card then, or will they be set up for FlexFund?
So state that again. So if the customer chooses FlexFund, say it one more time.
I think, well, we captured credit card as a backup payment, right? So I think the question may be about what happens on their credit card at the point of purchase.
Yeah, so as far as capturing the credit card as a backup form of payment, that's all we do is we verify that card is good, so that if we ever need to go charge it, we have the ability. We don't actually charge their credit card the dollar amount or anything like that. We just do a verification, kind of like when you check into a hotel. Not the same. In a hotel, they do actually put a marker on it for a certain dollar amount that just says this. You have the available credit. In our case, we're just saying, is it a valid credit card? But we don't actually charge their card. So if that's the question, then we're not charging their credit card anything. It is a FlexFund transaction. It would go in as a FlexFund transaction. It doesn't. It's not affected by the credit card at all.
Okay. And Levi, if that didn't answer your specific question, feel free to use that phone number or send Ben an email directly, and we'll get that figured out for you.
Yep.
We have another one from Joseph. Do the payment options go out to the client once the inspection is scheduled, such as with the inspection agreement that the client can sign online?
Yeah, so depending on how you have your settings, right? So if you had minimum and maximum set up, and say a $500 transaction, you've created a $500 invoice, but your minimum is $600, then yes, when that goes out, it's only going to show credit card and ACH if those are available or whatever, but it's not going to show FlexFund when you sent that invoice out because it didn't meet the minimum standard. If it's now a $650 transaction when you send that out, if that's how you have your settings set up, it will show that as a payment option, kind of a thing. There's also, you can just choose inspection types. You can still use the pay you can still use the option to charge the customer, but you can say in your settings, I only want FlexFund to show up for these specific inspection types or services. And so only when you set up an inspection for those specific types will FlexFund show up. So yeah, you totally control when it shows up.
Awesome. And Rodney asks, what if a buyer backs out of a deal and then requests another inspection done on a different house?
Yeah, we can combine inspections, but generally it's just that you're creating a new invoice. So that invoice went through for FlexFund, and a new invoice is going to be created in that scenario. So, again, that's kind of a case by case. I mean, we understand we're really only going to need to do work once with that title company. So we're fine with getting paid one transaction fee for that invoice. But, one time, or depending on how much time is in between those transactions, there's a few things around that. But invoices can be combined. So, and it's really more about you. If you combine that into one invoice being sent to a title company, then it's easy for us to work it that way. But if you're creating multiple invoices, then they become multiple transactions.
Okay. Awesome. And just plugging away here. Is there an ability to create an email template based on FlexFund to send to the buyer agent to notify them that the inspection costs are being sent to closing? And then this is from Greg, and I believe this is referring to ISN email templates.
Yeah, and that absolutely is already a feature within the system. When a FlexFund transaction is generated, it does send an email to that buyer agent. It comes from you in an effort to help that agent feel good about this transaction. So when Guardian's reaching out for additional information, that agent now knows, hey, Guardian was going to be reaching out. They're totally aware of the transaction. That's an automated piece that's already in place. And we do have some other email templates that you can turn on and off around those same things. And we totally recommend that. The more communication, especially that comes from you in this process, the better it is for all of us.
Awesome. How do you, Guardian, collect money from the client if they do back out of the home purchase?
So we take that credit card as a backup form of payment. So when they go through the checkout process, they do enter in a credit card as a backup form of payment. So if it doesn't make it to closing, then we're billing their backup form of payment. Awesome. And we're the ones eating that credit card fee, all that kind of stuff.
Okay. And this is a good one from Amy. When it gets paid at closing, does that mean it can be financed into the loan, or does the client pay out of pocket through closing costs?
Yeah, that is a great question. And so it depends. In most cases, I will tell you today, still, it means that it's just added to the closing disclosure, means that they're showing up to closing with funds to cover anything that's on the closing disclosure. But if you've closed on a home, you know that there's lots of ways where the things that are on the closing disclosure are being paid by somebody else. They're paid by the seller, they're paid by the mortgage company, the bank. They're giving funds. If it's a new home purchase, there's concessions to pay for closing costs, all of those kinds of things. And in some cases, it can actually be financed as a part of the transaction. Just really depends on the loan.
Okay, and I think we'll take one more here, and then there are a few, Ben, that I'll share with you following the session to reach out directly with these folks because they're a little more targeted question. But the last one that I think the audience might find useful is any issue with using FlexFunds for something like water testing on a VA refinance. So specific use case there. Yeah, no.
Our rule of thumb basically is if there is a closing, then it's going to work, right? So if you did just a wind mitt, and that was the only inspection that you did for that customer, as long as there's a closing involved, then you could run it through the system, and we're going to follow our same procedures. We just have to have a closing involved. So there's no, we have not heard any specific mortgage type, like a VA loan or anything like that, where anybody had an issue with the transaction showing up on the closing disclosure.
Excellent. Like I said, I think we'll take a few of the questions offline for Ben, but thank you guys so much for the engaging questions. That's what we were going for with an open Q&A. Love the questions, love to have you here to get them answered, and thank you for sticking around. I know we're past time, and thank you, Ben, for addressing all those.
Thanks, everybody.